Like Madonna? You worked with Madonna?
Well, not personally with her, but I sang on her
on
her tune.
And then Aretha?
We toured with Aretha.
And then Stevie?
We did the Songs in the Key of Life tour with Stevie.
You did that tour?
We did the, what are we? Midwest. We did the Midwest half of the Songs in the Key of Life.
You know how many people wish that they could work with one of those artists?
Yes.
And then you've done so much more on top of that.
Yep.
Well, we're rolling. So I just wanted to start the episode off with just saying Madonna, because I've never started an episode off saying Madonna before, and I've never had anybody in the room that could say, "Oh yeah, worked for her." Here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, you were listening to a Chatter Fact. Again, these are not interviews; they are conversations. And what a treat for your ears we have today. We've had half a cup of coffee already. I had to shut her up because she was too interesting. Once again, we're talking by the counter, and her stories were getting too good, and her insight was getting too good. And I said, "Stop!" And I had to put her in front of the mic. I think I like raced her. I picked her up like a baby, and I ran her to the mic, and I sat her down. Say hello to Yvonne Gage. Yvonne Gage, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone.
You are already like, I can't wait to just unwrap this story. So this lady has done, she was huge in the jingle market, which I'm fascinated with. I really want to talk about that because there's players and singers and producers in Chicago who've done so much. That jingle world is a whole other world, especially, would you say the 80s and the 90s is when it was really popping?
Popping is not the word.
Really?
It was fierce.
Yeah.
It was a force. It was everything.
Really?
Everything.
Because the money that was coming in and being paid for those things, because that was the thing. We're not really seeing the jingle world.
It's different.
Yeah.
It's different.
And I almost feel like it's somewhat here and there coming back over the last decade, maybe. But I mean, in the 80s, it was almost, in my opinion, when I was a little kid, it was almost like the same competitive nature as hit songs.
Yes.
Who had the best jingle? Chicken of the sea. You know, who was... Wait, what was the Klondike bar one that you were on?
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
So when you mentioned to me that you sang that, it's so funny because I love showing my daughter old commercials whenever she experiences anything because Klondike bars are still around. Anytime she has something like that, I'm like, oh, you gotta check it out. You know, I think my wife's sick of it because the other day my daughter had a Gatorade, you know, and she looks at us and she's like, Gatorade is thirsty. There's something about, I don't know, that it was such a cool part of my youth hearing these songs, you know. But you sang on these songs.
Sang on them.
You gave me that quick list. You did stuff for Toyota and for Coca-Cola, and it's almost mind blowing. What I like is that when I asked you about it, it was too many.
It was too many. I can't. When you asked me that,
yeah,
I was like, oh my God, what? It's so many. What do I pick? I have to say pretty much every product ever. Soap, toothpaste, music, cars, food,
yeah,
banks, just everything.
It takes a special gift to be able to, you know, throw down with Stevie Wonder, to know that you have to do what Stevie needs, which is going to be such a high-end, soulful vibe. But then to know that you can kind of, I feel like it's almost like a laser pinpoint focus that you need for this very specific, it's going to reach every ear, every color, every age. You know, to me, that takes focus.
It does.
And control.
It's like, because I came from something else, and probably all of us did.
Was it church, or where was the first origin?
First, I came from church, but probably in a different situation than my friends.
Okay.
Most of them come from gospel background. I didn't come from a gospel background. Gospel came into my life later. I came up in the Catholic Church, singing very straight and pure.
Immaculate Mary.
Yes.
Da, 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 da. Yeah,
yes.
I was brought up in that same church. Yeah.
And the thing that helped me with going into jingles was that I knew how to sing that way. But I had already retrained myself to add the gospel.
The acrobatics.
Yes,
and
yeah. And so when I got into the world of jingles,
You went back to church.
Yes, went back to church.
Oh my God, this is the most brilliant I never even thought of this before. And it's so funny because you could actually walk into the Jingle studio, and if you're walking in with somebody else from a different denomination and they said, take it to church, and whoa, toothpaste. But when you actually went to church, you're like singing R&B stuff, but then for you going to church was simplifying it. Like,
yes.
Take it to church. Okay.
Yes.
What a comparison, because the Catholic songs, they're just simple,
very pure,
melodic for everybody to sing. I actually, I remember, since I was brought up Catholic, when I'm 3rd, 4th grade, I'm like, oh man, Let There Be Peace. Like, that's my jam. Like, all right, I like singing some of them. I like some of them.
I had some.
Gift of Finest Wheat. Now I was like, oh yeah, play Gift of Finest Wheat.
But let me tell you,
yeah,
when they brought gospel music into the Catholic Church, yes, so that's where it started.
I missed a meeting, maybe.
Yeah, that one, because it was in the inner city in an all-black neighborhood.
Yeah.
So everybody else was gospel singers. So when they brought this big, boisterous woman to be the choir director who could knock a wall down without a microphone.
Wow.
And I'm singing. They put me in to do lead on the song, and I'm singing in the way that I know how to sing, very soft and pure and straight. And she said to me, "You better open your mouth and sing." My knees were knocking. This is the moment of truth. So that was where I learned how to add to let myself go.
Yeah. To
not sing in this box. And if you want to sing like those ladies,
yeah,
you got to come with something else.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you end up in a jingle situation where they're like, okay, let's shut that mouth just a little bit. Like it goes.
No problem.
But so you have all the gears. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Lawndale, on the west side of Chicago.
Oh, I didn't even know. Okay, I didn't know if you were. I don't know why you just seemed like this L.A.-born singer.
No, I'm a product of Chicago. Been here all my life. Been many other places.
Yeah.
Love Chicago.
Is Chicago? I mean, that's your town. Like, this is my favorite town.
It's my favorite town too.
Yeah, and
as a matter of fact, I was having a conversation with a friend who is from Chicago. Left years ago. He's living in Switzerland. So he has this whole, a musician. Okay. Has this vibe about, Chicago, but just about America in general. So he was trying to get me to say negative things about Chicago. And he's like, do you like Chicago? I love Chicago. Yeah. Good and bad. It is what it is.
I'm with you. And it's funny because I grew up in East Chicago. So I grew up right over the border, 25 minutes out of the city, and it's technically over the Indiana line, but where our mutual friend Jeff Morrow grew up, where I grew up, he grew up in Hammond. So Hammond, East Chicago, Gary, where the Jackson 5's from, all that stuff. You can't, I'll get teased from my friends from Arlington Heights or from Glendale. Oh, well, you grew up in Indiana, it's corn. But we actually grew up right on the butt cheek of Chicago. We're right there, and it was a steel town,
a finger snap away.
And it was a straight up industrial. It's oil companies and steel mills everywhere. So I grew up around smokestacks and things like that. So if you went 15 miles further in, then all of a sudden, I think there's going to be some corn here. That was a foreign land to me.
Really?
Yeah, so people didn't understand it. Oh, no, I basically grew up I feel like I grew up more in Pittsburgh than anything.
Well, I'm glad that you clarified that, because
when you hear Indiana,
right?
Yeah, and so and it's funny, I always yell at my friends, somebody from Rockford or something, like, oh, you grew up in Indiana. Like, no. I grew up, I could swim to the city. You grew up an hour and a half outside of the city. In fact, Chicago is in the name of the town I grew up. I grew up in East Chicago. So it's funny, but that's why I think Jeff Morrow, who you guys are going to hear about, we'll have him on. He's a major producer. I think at one point he did the ho ho ho. He was Green Giant voice. I thought I heard, but he's been a producer for Empire and for all these things, for so many people and so many things.
Yes,
you'll hear all about
my
him.
buddy.
You'll hear all about him, people. But him and I grew up in that region, and what's really interesting is the Jackson 5 came out of there, and when they came out of there, so many bands in Northwest Indiana started trying to emulate them
Yeah.
or the Temps or something. So when I grew up, if I went to a festival, I was seeing these full produced Temptation shows and Earth, Wind and Fire type shows. You know, my dad was in one of them. You know, so we were exposed to all that, Jeff and I think that helps. You know, that
It absolutely
old school thing.
does. It
But
does.
you said when you first started working with Jeff, because Jeff is going to be on this show, but he told me if I'm going to talk to somebody about the industry, Yvonne Gage was the first person. He texted her. He mentioned her name. Like in 5 minutes, I heard your name mentioned, 20 times, and because you've done so much.
Yeah.
And one of the things you said that you were on tour when you first worked with him. Was it a commercial?
The tour?
Yeah. Or no? When you worked with Jeff.
Yes, that was my first commercial. My very first.
Do you remember what the commercial was for?
It was for Ultra Curl Instant Moisturizer. That was when we were wearing Jerry curls.
Mm-hmm. All right, and you said that Jeff, because I ran into this too, where the first time I worked with Jeff, I thought, oh, this is all going to be incredibly charted, and I'm not, and I noticed he didn't even send out charts. When the first time I worked with him, it was for McDonald's. And he sent out the part. He plucked out the part in a recording. And I didn't know what to expect when I got the call from him.
Well, that was because the industry changed to a degree. Because my fear when I got there, even though I'd wanted to do jingles for so long and was trying to figure out how to get into doing jingles because I was on tour.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm sick of this. So I need to find something else. So I submitted through a coworker a tape to go to a man named Paul Wilson, who had a company called Herschel Commercial, which was
Herschel Commercial.
It was the it.
Yeah.
It was the it, and so was Paul, and still is Paul. Shouts out to you. And Paul, it was through him that I did my first commercial. So, but I had heard that all the singers read. Mm-hmm. So in order to do a jingle, you must read. My reading is very poor.
Uh-huh.
So I was scared, to say the least.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned to you earlier, when Jeff comes in here, he's going to ham it up and make you laugh at me, at my expense, about how that whole experience went. But I was nervous. And when I met him and I saw him reading the chart, I was like, oh, my God. But needless to say, we did it. It was great. Had no idea what that was going to be like until I got that first check. And
Wow.
I was like, oh, yes. This is where I belong for now.
Because those checks at the time, especially, they would keep coming, right?
Yes. At a point, there were so many.
Uh-huh.
Technically, checks were supposed to be mailed out on Mondays, I believe it was, and Saturdays. They would just overlap, and you go to the mailbox, there were checks every day.
Oh, my God.
Every day, because we worked all day long. We might go in, we might have a 10 o'clock call for Kellogg's, and then we get another call, hey, can you come up to Studio B? We have a McDonald's spot for you. We worked all day long, every day.
Oh, my God.
And it was so great that sometimes on weekends were overtime or double time or time, whatever it was. It was
Wow.
extra. And network, cable didn't exist.
Uh-huh.
So this was all network, radio
Prime
and
time.
radio and television.
Wow.
And then if something ran through Super Bowl playoffs, oh
Really?
yes,
Because I heard so many players. I heard the guys in the Chicago Cats. I heard they did a lot of playing on that stuff.
those are my buddies. We passed one another every day.
Really?
Yes.
I have an original band, and one of the founding members was Downtown Tony Brown.
Crazy downtown Tony Brown.
And I played with him so often. He's a dear friend.
Yes.
And he's always told me about that. He's like, oh no, I mean, it's the same thing, like the jingle days. It almost sounded like half of those guys bought. The rumor is like a lot of them were able to just buy homes and just
It's true.
straight down, no payment plan. Like boom, here's the money, give me my house.
It's true, but of course it was different for musicians.
Uh-huh.
You know, we belonged to a different union, so
Okay.
we made different money.
Sure.
Not bragging, but we made different money.
This is amazing. Okay, so you start off, you grew up in, where was it again?
Lawndale.
Lawndale. How'd you get the singing bug, like right off the bat?
Oh, when I was a little girl.
Really?
I've been singing since I could talk. Knew that was what I wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
And so my first outlet was in church. So I sang in the church
Yeah.
for years. Then
What was the first song that wasn't church-like, that you're like 10 years old and you're just blowing out? Do you remember like what your jam was, or were there 2 of them, 3 of them?
Probably Respect.
Really? Okay.
Probably Respect. Probably because in my house there was a lot of mixtures of music.
Really?
Yeah, my father was a television and radio repairman.
Uh-huh.
So he always had these things to fix, turntables, things that he would get that probably nobody else had. And he bought the music. He would go to the record store. He made sure that we had the current music. So Sarah Vaughan was in my house all the time.
Okay.
So to this date, I have I'm torn between which I love most, jazz or R&B.
Really?
But Sarah Vaughan that was my queen. That is my queen.
Uh-huh. And then when did it become more? When did singing suddenly, how old were you when you were thinking, okay, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna do something, jump in a band or whatever it is?
I had a teacher who came to teach at this Catholic school.
Uh-huh.
We are friends to this date. He was my 8th grade teacher. His name is Robert Tabor. He's my co-writer sometimes. And he was a musician. He is a musician and singer, and he had been in groups and stuff. So in the classroom, he had set up turntables. We had music in class all day long.
What year or what was this, high school, grade?
This was grammar school.
Grammar school.
This is
okay.
grammar school. And so he further educated me with music that I had never heard before.
Uh-huh.
And somebody came to him with these girls were older than me. We have a group. We just lost a member. And so he brought me to the group. Now, I'm too young to be in this group. But it was what I wanted. I disobeyed my parents. I snuck off the block when I was supposed to be outside, rode my bike to rehearsal. My sister helped me, she was like the filter between, you better hurry up and get back home. So I started singing in this group. My parents didn't want me to have any part of that.
Yeah.
But I guess at a point they realized there's nothing that we can do about it. So
Yeah.
I was in this group for years.
What was the first gig?
The first gig was at a club called the Safari Room,
Okay.
which was too young to be in. So there's a DJ named Sam Chapman in Chicago. He's like a huge steppers DJ.
Yeah.
Google him. And Sam Chapman owned that club, and he said he hired the group. The name of the group was Love, Love, later to become First Love, who have their own records and stuff out later. But he said, if you come, your parents have to come. You have to have a chaperone. So that was my first gig at 14.
Wow. Man, I think that's something that we all, there's something very important about doing that kind of club scene or the bar scene. I think I was probably 17 the first time, which is fun. The funny thing about that is I think the first bar I did, I was dropped off and it was great, but my whole band, we were all teenagers.
Yeah.
And the lady really wanted us because we had done some festival stuff. And I think it was ridiculous. It was like a 5-hour gig, and I think we got like $50 a person.
You got that much?
Oh. Those early days, right? And we're doing this thing, and I remember the funniest thing about it is she was very worried. The owner was worried about making sure she, followed the law to the letter, because apparently we were able to be in there to entertain, but we couldn't leave the stage area.
Yes.
And there was nowhere for us to go except for the stage area. And this stage was a big open room, and the stage was in the middle of everything. So we would do our song. I think we ended, even when I was a kid, because I grew up on the older stuff, no matter what it was. This was like the '80s, and I'm having us end a set with "Tighten Up." You know, we would still have to.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we'd have to. Yeah, and
now
everyone's like, "What's this 17-year-old dude playing Tighten Up?"
Yeah,
you know?
that's old for you.
Yeah, my dad brought me up on all of it.
That was a jam. Though.
All of it. Well, we would do. You know, we would end the set, and everyone's like, "Woo, yeah!" We're like, "All right, we're gonna take a break." Okay, and then we just sit down on the stage. This little anticlimactic, you know, like, "All right, we'll be right back," you know, and then we just stop and stand there, you know. Yeah, no, the Dusties, folks. For anyone not familiar, like I always say this, there are oldies and then there are Dusties, and the Dusties just speak to me. I love Motown, I love all that, but I like Philly soul, I like Chicago soul. Billy Stewart was a real big influence. You know, on YouTube, I just released something, and I never released it. It was recorded, and it's a cappella with the dude who was with the Soulsters at the time, and with a string quartet, and it's "I Do Love You." You know, I'll send it to you.
Oh, please do.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, or if you did Robbie, "I Do Love You," but it's they're doing the line, but his style is.
Why
singing.
can't we have strings?
I don't know.
Why?
The keyboards took over, you know, and well, you know, I'm seeing a resurgence though. I am seeing a resurgence.
I mean strings.
Oh.
But you know, Jeff says you are an awesome singer.
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Well, you know, I mean, the Dusties in particular, though, means so much to me that I got to meet Herb Kent, who was a famous, you know, that dude played there, one of the most famous DJs in the country, in my opinion. And I got to meet him. And sometimes I do this little jokey thing where I'll make up little lyrics on the spot. It's something I do part-time in a little unplugged thing. Because, you know, we do what we do, and I can't wait to hear this from you, too. But we do what we do, and we make money doing what we do, but then we have to do the other stuff just for our soul. I do a little unplugged thing for my soul. I mean, I'm not doing it for free.
Right.
They pay me.
Right.
But, you know, I would do it for free. But I do this little improv-y thing, and I think Herb must have caught wind of that or something. So then he didn't have me go to a studio. He brought a studio to me. He brought it to the Star Plaza Theater where the show was going to be, and he rented a conference room, and he had me go into this room, and he said, "Hey, and of all songs," he's like, "You know, I Do Love You." I'm like, "Yeah, I grew up on I Do Love You." He was all right. So lay down all the backgrounds. So there's an a cappella group called Stormy Weather, and we laid down the backgrounds. And then he said, "All right, now sing it." And he's talking to me, but make it about me. And I'm like, what?
That does not surprise me
Really?
about Herb.
Did you know? Yeah. Really? So
everybody knew Herb in some capacity.
And folks, this is a legendary DJ who we lost not too long ago.
Yes.
So
yes.
So you knew him. You've met Herb.
I've met him. Yeah. I've been around him.
Yeah.
I was acquainted with him. More acquainted though with his daughter. But everybody who knows about Herb Kent.
Yeah.
Knew him to some degree.
Well, luckily enough, he liked it, and every Sunday at noon for the last 4 years of his life and his show, I opened up his show. Herbie, baby. Dun, dun,
oh,
dun,
get
dun,
out of here.
Dun,
I heard that.
Ooh, yeah. You know that?
I have heard that over and over again. Yeah.
So I made that up in one take. It seemed like, well, all right, Herb. And I'm just thinking, Herb, cool gent, Dusty, you know. And,
yeah, Herbie baby.
And thank goodness he liked it, and he used that as his intro for I think about 4 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah, so that's great.
Wow.
That was my moment.
Well, Robbie, that's big to be chosen by Herb Kent.
Yeah, I thought so, and the fun it was. I'll never forget that. You know that song? Oh, that's great. Sing it, but make it about me. I'll never forget. And there I am, and he's saying that I'm in front of the microphone, and then they just start rolling, you know, like, oh God. But yeah, the Dusties thing, and so you're growing up, you get into the band thing, you know, and now as you get into it, when do things start moving or looking like, okay, this might really be something? Because I think when we get into the band at the first time, we love it and we have stars in our eyes,
right?
But when did things start? Well. When did things start looking like they might be legit, or you can make some money doing this?
Jingles, or
no.
just music?
Singing.
Well, singing. Well, right when I started, when I went on tour, it wasn't my tour. I was on tour with a local artist here in Chicago named Captain Sky, whose music was funk, like Parliament, that type.
Uh-huh.
And So I was on tour with him. When I came back and did my first jingle, that was 1981. That same year, I was signed to Atlantic Records.
Well, wait. Okay, hold on now. I need some connected dots here. So you're a kid, getting in the bar scene. You're in a local band.
Yeah.
Right. How are you? Are you training yourself primarily at this point? Are you just listening, trying to cop to things you're hearing, or was there further training going on? Was somebody else working with you? Did you have mentors?
The vocal group that I was singing in was being courted by a local producer and management in Chicago. Donald Burnside.
When you were 14, this is that group?
No, yes, this is that group. Okay. But by that time, I am 19 when Donald Burnside comes into our lives, and he was a producer here in Chicago.
Okay, so hold on now. 14 to 19.
I was with that group.
That's 5 years.
Yep.
So what did we learn from 14 to 19? What did you pick up,
I grew
musically?
up. I grew up.
Yeah, you will grow up fast.
I grew up.
But musically, what were you picking up, and how did you pick it up in those 5 years? I'm really curious about this.
In those 5 years, I was with these ladies who I love to this date. And I learned womanhood first.
Sure.
Learn how to sing better harmonies, learn how to harmonize instantly, learn how to be even more freer with my soloing, because this was a different type of, these girls sang differently from me. And I just learned to shine. In that period of time, I just learned to shine. I gained confidence. I was fierce.
Yeah.
I was ready.
And they had techniques and stuff, because I feel like we all keep becoming better, but I had a bunch of mentors along my path all the time, showing me things that I didn't think about.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how that helps so much, and you try copping to it too.
Yes, and it was a lot of that.
Yeah.
But it became a whole lifestyle change for me, almost living with them, because they were already mothers, and during that time I became a mother as well. So they were mothers already, so I learned a lot from them, but I learned harmony through being with them, because there were 5 of us. Had it not been for my parents, that probably would not have happened.
So once they decided to get on board with the singing thing, you had them. They were supportive.
They were still fighting me.
Oh.
They were still fighting me. They were saying, go to school. If you like music that much, be a school teacher. But it was their fear.
Sure.
They were afraid of failure. So where they can't come in is that I would never, had I not had them, I would never have left my child to go on a tour. But it was easy because I was still at home with my parents. So leaving my son there was like leaving him with me number 2.
Fantastic.
So I did the tour.
So through those 5 years, you're getting, I mean, that's an education not only in life but in music. So by the time you're 19, you're
ready.
You're ready, man. That's fantastic. You had to be working with talent to get that, because I feel like if we work with people that are not as good, even if you're at a high level, it could dumb you down after a while. Like I've been stuck in groups. It's been a long time. It's been a knock on wood. I work with great people, but there was a time maybe 15, 20 years ago where I felt like, oh no, I'm dumbing down. I better get out of this.
Well, no, but I went through that too.
Yeah.
When I was no diss on my girls.
Sure.
When I left that group and I met people like Keith Henderson, Chuck Luck, Don Burnside, Nanette Frank, Sean Christopher, Joan Colosso, Dee Alexander, all those people, then I learned what the real deal was.
It makes a difference.
Then I had to step my game up even more.
Yeah.
So it's been phases.
So then the first thing that happened after you were 19, then what was the next step after that band?
Was being signed to Atlantic Records.
They saw you in that group?
No, I was with Don Burnside. Don Burnside saw me in that group.
Okay.
And I was chosen from that group.
And what was his role at the time? Like
He's a producer.
Producer.
Who heard about this group
Uh-huh.
and started coming to our rehearsals. And he was also the producer of Captain Sky.
Wow.
That band that I ended up going on tour with.
Uh-huh.
So he was the one who put me together with that band. And then with the understanding that I'm next in line to produce. So after I came home was when I demoed, I had a song called Garden of Eve, which is still a hit in Europe.
Come on now. Up top. Bam. All right.
And I got signed.
Wow.
Because of that.
Did you have to, did they have any studios based here in Chicago, or did you have to travel to do all the recording?
We had the best studios. I recorded that here at PS Studio,
Okay.
Paul Serrano, but there were a handful of great studios. Universal Studio, Streeterville Studio,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
so-
Yeah, I didn't know for Atlantic if you had to go wherever.
No, we recorded, we did that right here.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay. So then from that point, you try that realm, and then you ended up in the industry. How fast did all that happen?
Well, it was pretty...
And how?
How? Well, I got cheated out of royalties.
Oh, man.
And
Is
when
this
I
for your solo stuff? Or
This is for my solo
Okay.
stuff.
No way.
In my own camp. In my own camp. Probably by this time, I'm no longer with Atlantic, and actually, that label, which is RFC Atlantic, that label ended up folding. So I got lost with everybody else. But then I got signed. I got picked up by another label in Chicago, distributed by Columbia, and recorded an album.
Did you have an agent or manager?
I had a manager.
Oh, you had a manager.
And there's so much in between, so many little nuances that lead up to why all this happened. But basically, I found out that I was making no money.
Wow.
I found out that I had received advance monies, and someone in my camp took those monies.
Whoa.
So I felt like a jilted lover.
Yeah.
Very upset, so I just withdrew. What helped me to be able to withdraw and still be happy was Jingles.
Really?
With Jingles, not having any idea that more than 20 years later that I have a hit overseas.
So you're doing, when you jumped into the jingle game, your first jingle, like we were talking about earlier, you said you were on the road at the time, or you were on tour at the time?
Yes, I was on tour. Oh my goodness.
Now, were you on tour as a solo artist, or were you with somebody at the time?
I was with somebody.
Okay.
But on that tour, the band that I was in was opening up for Stephanie Mills, Smokey Robinson, not Culture Club, that was the other band. Just a string.
See the name she's just dropping. Oh no, that was that other thing.
right, because I got to tell you about that other band.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we were opening up for major acts. Smokey Robinson was like, "Oh my God, he doesn't know it, but he's my husband." So we
What
did
was
that
this
whole thing.
band that you were opening up with?
Captain Sky.
That was Captain Sky.
Captain Sky.
Wow. All right. So then, how did you even get the call for the jingle?
The label, Chicago International Music, CBS.
Uh-huh.
By that time, the owner of that label was my manager.
Oh, wow.
So he hooked it up for me to come in and sing on this jingle. And that's how that happened.
So at this point, you're doing straight up, would it be R&B for the most part?
Yes.
All right. And then you end up doing a jingle that, then you had to like kind of rein it all in and change. Was that first experience interesting once you're on the mic? You
Yes.
know? Yeah, even once you're comfortable because of Jeff and everybody.
But I should say that once I met Donald Burnside, I also became a session singer. So I had a lot of experience by that time.
Before the jingle happened?
Yes.
Did you sing for notables before the jingle, or was it more after?
No.
Okay.
No, but just on all of his projects.
Yeah.
Everything that came out of the PS Studios, I probably was singing on that stuff.
This is fascinating, man. So then after you do that first jingle, did it just kind of snowball after that?
It got quiet for a minute
Okay.
on the jingle side, and then it just happened when it happened, just out of nowhere.
So you do that first jingle, then do you jump back into performing and just touring for a second?
After I did the jingle, started doing jingles, then I got called to be in the band Ministry with Alan Jorgensen.
That is an interesting jump.
Yes.
So how long did you work with Ministry?
A year.
And that's a whole different world.
Oh, another world.
So what was that like?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy and good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because stylistically.
I was a rocker then.
Yeah. Wow. You had that gear.
Yeah.
You were in Ministry.
You said it perfectly. I had that gear.
Yeah. So then what happens after Ministry?
After Ministry, then I was full-fledged Jingles.
Really?
Forgot about recording, forgot about all this stuff. Just
Is
Jingles.
it because did Ministry have you on the move a lot, like on the road a lot?
Yes. Now, when our tour with Ministry, we were opening for Police, Culture Club.
Wow.
People like that.
What was your first kind of bigger venue where you're dealing with celebrities like that? When you were with Ministry anyway, do you remember, was that the first time that you really ended up in like a super huge room, or did that happen with the other?
It actually happened with the Captain Sky tour. But being with the Ministry, that was just like huge, and it was when we opened for the Police, and that was the biggest place I had ever.
Do you remember where that was?
It was in Minnesota, Minneapolis or somewhere, but it was just I don't remember.
Yeah,
I'm just drawing straws because that was a long time ago, but it was huge.
Wow. So then after Ministry, you decide the jingles, the work started calling.
Yes, work just was calling.
So then were you kind of home based, just not traveling as much?
Not traveling.
And it sounds like it was a day job. You just got to stay here and go right to the office.
Pretty much every day, all day.
What kind of what years was this? The 80s?
This was the 80s through mid 90s.
And all of a sudden, I mean, this scene fascinates me really, because so was Jeff Morrow working with you on 90% of those things, or was it
pretty much everything?
Really?
And not to delve into his portion of his interview, but Jeff was doing double duty, because Jeff had two careers going. He's a singer and he's a voiceover. He's voiceover on everything, even the things that he wasn't singing on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I thought I heard he was doing a lot. McDonald's in particular, because when I worked with him, the jingle scene was kind of over, or at least not what it used to be. But he still had, it's funny. The biggest gig to this day of my life was with him. It was doing they have like an international biannual party. And like Beyonce was there. There's all these stars there, and they had it done up like on American Music Awards.
Nothing is like that anymore. It was great. It was great, but
this is funny. He would have us do these. I had to do an acapella. It was with an acapella group. We did like 5 songs, just standard songs. But at the end of every song, ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
That's called Make It About Me. Make it about me.
But even then, it's like that dude just had it dialed in. So that was so sporadic. When you did it, it was all over it's so funny to think about, these are heavy hitters. Just, it's not like it's, go walk from Stevie Wonder's room to, Smokey. But this is still, go from Kellogg's to Toyota to, these are major companies. And this is stuff that, some of these songs are embedded in the culture the same way regular songs are.
Yes.
When you did the Klondike thing and you sang that to me, I'm like, that's, it's almost like hearing My Girl in a way. Like, I'm just as familiar.
So you can imagine when that started to change, what that felt like.
When are you saying when the decline happened?
Yes.
So yeah, because was it a decade? How long was that stretch?
It was like when it happened.
Yeah.
It got bad. Like it started to change when there.
How
there
long
was
were
a
the
strike.
good years? So would you say? Was it more than a decade of like?
Yes, it was more than a decade.
Good Lord.
It was more than a decade, and then even when it changed, there were still trickles of stuff, but when it happened, it was like one day it was just over.
Wow, that quick.
That quick.
Let me ask you this: when you're suddenly in the middle of it, and now, would you say that's a block where some like financially stuff is just flooding in, you know, how did it take a minute to properly manage it, or were you already kind of safe? Because, you know, the first time, you know, I grew up poor, so the first time I started making money, it was like in my hands and out my hands and in my hands and out my hands. You know, it took a minute to kind of figure it out, like how to be smart with money.
I'm still recovering. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. This is my Kellogg's car. This is my Hershey's car.
It's like no. Because when you have money like that, you are giving money away. You're lending money. You're saving people. You're buying everything, any and everything that you want. Yeah. But always in the back of my mind was, okay, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But then after that, I'm stopping. And I'm going to start putting away money. That never happened. That never happened.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. Yeah. You know, we talk about it on this show a lot. How we have to train to be singers and players, but nobody teaches us to be business folks. You know, people aren't training in business when they're learning how to sing as well as they can sing. You know, and I wish there was more guidance out there. And there's not too much. You know, I try now if I'm working with anybody that's coming in new. You know, save.
Yeah, Jeff used to say that.
You really?
Yeah, and he was smarter about that stuff than we were, and he preached that to us all along, but. Wow. Things just changed too soon.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing, especially when it just feels like that gravy train is just, you know, I mean, I would say after the first 4 years of it, it must feel like, oh, this is going to go on. This is just life.
We thought we were still going to be doing that right now.
Yeah. I wonder why it changed. I wonder why the jingle, you know, do you think it's because they were trying to cut corners and not pay like the residuals that they would have to pay?
Absolutely.
You think it was a money?
Absolutely. On more than one area of it. That started with the creative part of it. There were creatives who were grumbling about the amount of money that we were making versus what they make.
And they're the ones creating this jingle, right?
Yeah. So, you know, they didn't like the fact that we were making more money than they were.
Yeah.
So they were already grumbling.
That's actually kind of a surprise. I mean, I get it, but when it's well, I guess the writing thing came a little later on to where that maybe came more in the forefront, where that money would go more to a person who created something, right? I'm not really sure, I guess.
You know, it's different in jingles, I believe, than it is in records.
Yeah.
Records has always been the person who writes is the person who stands to make the most money.
Yeah, at least long term.
Long term.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So then... now you're man, talk about studio savvy too. But then where does like all of a sudden, you know, the Madonna thing, like how does that happen then? Okay,
so let me just say that there are jingles, not very many. I did a jingle this summer,
really,
which was great for Toyota. So there are things here and there.
Yeah,
but so after
it's cool that you still get that call too,
yes,
by the way.
Yes.
You know?
Yep. And so after the jingle industry changed so drastically, then I went back to live. And in the midst of all of that, I realized I was a little upset with myself for totally putting live performance to the side.
Sure.
Because there was no reason why I couldn't have done both. So started doing more live stuff. Of course, the money is not the same, but there is a good living to be earned doing what we call jobbing bands, singing with jobbing bands. So I've sung with jobbing bands for probably close to 20 years.
The jobbing world has, you know, I almost walked out of music when I didn't get the big deal. You know, and I released, you know, a couple of CDs that did well locally because I had a local fan base, but then almost walked out altogether. And a member of the Spaniels, good night, sweetheart.
Well, it's time to go.
Yeah, he talked me out. He's like, no. He goes, you could still make a living doing this, you know. And then I got into the jobbing world, and the jobbing world it's almost, I don't know how you feel about this. Like naturally, major fame would be fantastic. I'd like a little bump up more, even of people knowing the music. But it's nice that I have this fan base. But I like the fact that I'm doing so many shows a year and I come home most nights. Nobody's looking through my garbage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the jobbing world kind of gives you that.
It's a little bit different for me.
Oh, okay.
It's a little bit different for me because when I started jobbing, even though I was late to jobbing, mostly everybody else that I know was already jobbing. But when I started jobbing, there was still a lot of the type of music that I like being done.
Yeah.
There was still like a little bit of jazz, which I loved. And it was songs like you mentioned you like and I like. Now, the stuff that I have to sing now, I do not like.
Yeah. You know, this is important though. I'm starting to notice this, and we had this South African comedian on the show the last episode, Shimmy Isaacs, and I was talking about the fact that I've worked with some singers. And what are your thoughts on this? And folks, jobbing, that's when I'm doing something for the Blackhawks this Friday. That's a jobbing show. I did a wedding, last Saturday. That's jobbing. That's it for any of you outsiders. That's what jobbing is. But I was talking about some folks who just do the jobbing thing and haven't done anything else.
Yeah.
And there's like this anger and this seriousness, and sometimes, we got to make this band this, and we got to make this band that, and they get so angry that maybe this particular show we have to sing stuff that's not our favorite. First and foremost, I gotta throw props out to my dad, because my dad has the worst temper in the world. He's a very unfocused man when you're talking to him, But when that man is on stage, it's the biggest smile, and that smile goes nowhere. And he goes nowhere because he just wants to sing. He doesn't even care what he wants to sing. He has his favorites,
Yes.
And I took that from him. So now if my name's on the line, for some reason to this day, Jesse's Girl sure does mean a lot to people.
Well, you have to.
But it doesn't bother me when I'm doing it. But I started to realize, like, when I first jumped into the jobbing thing, I had to let things go. And that was hard, because my CD had just come out. I did a big thing at Market Days. I was on ABC. Some stuff could have happened, but I had to decide, I don't think it's really going to happen to the point where I'm going to be secure for the next 10 years, and this jobbing thing will be.
Yeah.
So I had to leave everything behind for about 2 years, just do the jobbing thing and get my head wrapped around that. And again, when I said this is what I'm doing, I'll sing Jesse's Girl like I wrote it. I'll sing Brown Eyed Girl like it's my favorite song.
But those are good songs, though. Those are good songs.
Yeah,
those are not the songs that I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's some bad stuff.
Right. Plus, Robbie, you're probably a decade or more younger than me. So at that time, that's where I was.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to sing the hell out of this song, feel it, all of that.
Yeah.
Now I don't feel that way.
Yeah, no, it's tricky. Yeah. Well, but what are your thoughts on this? I noticed, since I try to keep in this zone, like, all right, I put my name on the dotted line, so I'm going to give it all I got. And I'm sure you do too. You're a professional. Mm-hmm. But then after I got my sea legs and I had some room to do more, now I do my original band a couple times a year. I do this twice a month. I do this unplugged thing. And man, when I show up to this unplugged show, just me, guitar player, conga player, harmonies, we get to do whatever we want. And I do improv a little bit too. When I'm pulling up to that gig, I'm just grinning ear to ear. And I noticed that it makes the jobbing world more bearable.
Yes.
And what this comedian, what she said, Shimmy Isaacs, she said, if somebody's really angry, not dissatisfied, because I think you and I could be very dissatisfied with what we're singing in a corporate world. Like, ooh, this doesn't move me. But she said, as far as the anger, she's like, if you're not doing enough with your art, then you're going to be angry.
Yes.
But if you are doing enough with your art to make you smile, then you're going to say, oh, shit, but yeah, you want me to sing this hokey terribles? No problem, because Wednesday next month I'll be doing something that I enjoy.
That is absolutely so.
It keeps us sane.
That is absolutely so. That's yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I think if people out there, this is you younger folks, what I noticed in the younger singers, because they're doing the jobbing thing, but they're making it everything.
Right.
And they talk about, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, no, you better do it then. Right. Get out there and do it, I'm going to do a thing. I'm going to do a trio. Like, do the trio then.
Yes.
Because when they don't, I notice there's so much angrier in the jobbing world. It's like, well, this is the job.
It's true.
The word job is in it. It's a job.
It's like it's a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And you have to have that other thing that that gives you that creative release, that gives you your high. You have to have that.
What feeds your soul? Like what is your happy time? What kind of act will you do once in a while and it's just like, oh, okay, this just feels good?
I love doing my own gig where I do a mixture of jazz and R&B with some of the hottest musicians in Chicago.
And you know the hottest musicians.
And I know the hottest musicians in Chicago.
Yeah.
That can put me on a high for probably weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to see one
That's
of these.
what I like
the way,
too.
so
Yeah.
we're gonna stay in contact. I better get a text now.
Yes.
Tuesday, 6 o'clock. Just give me an address and a
Be
time,
there.
and I will be there.
Yes.
So the jingle thing, when you started working with bigger artists like these worldwide famous folks, was that toward the end of the jingle thing, or was that during?
That was toward the end.
Toward the end.
But in between, during the time that I was doing jingles, I also did a 10-month run at the Briar Street Theater.
Wait, what?
in Beehive, the 60s musical. I did that for 10 months at the Briar Street Theater.
So I'm not as familiar with that. Are you acting, or are you mostly
It's
singing?
musical theater.
Okay.
So a little bit of acting, but mostly singing.
But you got to be like expressive. You're acting.
It's a different thing. That is a different puppy.
How did you fall into that?
How did I just went to an audition. Somebody said, oh, they're auditioning for something, and I went.
Man, what I love about you is that you just jumped into whatever, whether you'd done it before or not.
Yeah.
You know, the jingle thing, the studio thing, all of that.
Yep.
So what was that experience like for you?
That was great. It was hard, just in the sense that I'm a very unregimented person.
Yeah.
So I had to be on a schedule, and it cut out my nightlife. There were many a nights that I left the theater in my stage makeup and went out dancing. So that part of it was hard. And then I went right from that to a production of Dreamgirls for 10 months at the Candlelight Theater.
Wow.
Now that was great.
That's
I
a
love
huge
that.
show.
Yes, it was. And they went on the road, but because I was doing so well in jingles here, I was like, bye. I'm not going on that one.
How so did you, I mean, when you jumped into, what was the Dreamgirls experience like?
Again, hard because of, you do 6 weeks of rehearsal, of all day, of like 10 maybe 12-hour rehearsals. And then you go into production. You're there, every day except Monday, and then matinees Saturday and Sunday. Wow. So I'm doing that, but
that's the voice.
But now vocally, it put me at my prime. I mean, you're singing so much, there's nothing that you can't do. There's no, when it's time to go in the studio, that I have to warm up or anything. I'm there because I'm singing all the time.
Wow. And how did you hear some people worry more about fatigue? It's funny, you're one of the first people I've ever heard say, oh, put me on point.
I was young. When you're young, you can do anything.
Yeah.
And you have no fears. You don't care if you blow your throat. You're not thinking about, I'm going to have nodules or anything like that. You just go for it. And you're kind of like in a competition with everybody else that you're performing with, so you want to be tops.
Now, when you're Dreamgirls is, that's such a popular show. When you're going in there, I would always assume that those folks are all going to make you read. Because I've only done a review. I've never done an actual play. I did a review, and that was I didn't. But are there a lot of singers in that where they're plucking the parts?
Yeah, there was no reading. I mean, we had a book when we were in rehearsal.
Yeah. We
had a book with the charts and all that kind of stuff, but there was very little of that.
So are you bringing a recorder with you and when they're giving out parts, or you're just remembering everything?
Yeah.
Oh man, the voice, the brain, everything was just sharp. And
my
God,
my ears they're not quite as good as they were then, but my ears were my guide.
What do you think of this? I ran into this thing because I was trained by ear because my father was in this vocal group. So 4 or 5 part harmonies, I was being trained from 13 to 17, 16. So didn't even join choir in high school. I had this kind of homeschooling thing going on. And then when I got to college, I felt like I better start really improving my reading.
Yes.
I better fix this.
Yep.
So I auditioned for a jazz ensemble in college, and my ear at that time was so fast that it was just easier to keep using my ear.
I know, and that's what.
So then my reading never improved.
I know, and that's the same issue that I had. I took a course, and it was like, if I can hear it, why am I going to look? So, but I'm seriously thinking about taking some theory.
To this day.
Yes, to this day, not to to get a degree or anything like that, just to hone my skills and my language with fellow musicians.
One of the busiest all-time, most famous local Chicago singers in this Chicago industry is you. And the fact that you're still willing to grow, that's amazing. That's amazing, because you're still it, And
I'm still running up on people who are it. So you have to constantly step up your game.
You got Yvonne Gage says, double up on your it. Double up on your it, people.
Yes.
If you walk away with one thing from this talk, double up. Yeah, that's amazing. So in the midst of all that, I mean, still you're getting all this work. I want to start running through the big names, like seriously, the Madonna thing. How? Well,
the Madonna thing, and I can't even remember which song it was, but there's producer Mark Picchiotti. I did a lot of stuff with Mark Picchiotti. He's a dance, and so he got in a lot of projects that I sang on. Madonna was one of them. I didn't meet Madonna, but I'm singing on a version of one of her songs.
Wow.
Who's the other lady? Lisa Stansfield.
Oh my God!
Just a bunch of people like that.
Been around the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
That, but then I've sung with. I'm on Celine Dion.
Wait,
I'm Your Angel.
On her, you're on a track, or you?
Yes.
Really?
A bunch of us. It's not just me.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of us on Celine Dion's, which we still receive royalties from today.
Get down. All right. That's cool.
Yep. Peter Cetera. I'm on one of his albums.
Wow.
I've done multiple concerts with Michael McDonald. That's my friend now.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Seriously?
I'm on a DVD soundstage DVD with him, and then I did another appearance with Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins.
Man.
Who else? Jay Giles, who I had never heard of.
Now hold on. So you're Jay Giles, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. So if you're doing the studio work, and what's kind of nice is if you're working for one of these big names, whether it's Celine Dion or like the Madonna or whatever, it's a producer that you'd already worked with. So there's not. Yeah. It's not like you had like a picky artist there in the booth putting you through some weird paces.
No.
You're working with basically a friend or a producer you've worked with
yes.
before.
Yes.
So you're in your comfort zone.
I'm in my comfort zone.
Doing these huge, man, that is fantastic.
With my buddies, with Jeff, Joan, and a bunch of other people.
Yeah. That is amazing.
Seal. I did soundstage with Seal.
So how did this? So folks, soundstage, you've all seen it because that can be seen, but they film a lot of those right here in Chicago. We're a couple blocks away from WTTW Studios. And how did you get the call for soundstage? Because that's live performance. They'll get somebody famous in there, they'll do it, and then it's on PBS.
There's a man named oh God, I'm losing. What is his name? Thomas is his last name. We know him through doing jingles. He's like the head honcho at soundstage.
Really?
And so he hired myself and another younger singer, fabulous girl, Simbrit Whittington, to do background vocals for Michael McDonald. And so once we did that, we were just like in the mix. So we got called to do Michael McDonald and Michael McDonald again and Kenny Loggins and Seal. And
so when you're doing soundstage, and you're doing backgrounds like that, so Michael McDonald will come into town, and then are you doing prep work the week before or something just on your own here, or is it just you show up the day of?
His contact will contact whichever one of us are the vocal contractor.
Okay.
And it's been both of us, and we go from there. It was something else it slipped my mind.
Is he giving you like a live recording or something, or what are you working off of when you're learning those parts?
MP3s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and wow. So then you're showing up more or less prepared, and then so the first time you go in there, Michael McDonald shows up for the rehearsal.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I thought I was going to pass out.
Because the dude he can sing. He's
Oh
he's
my
like a
God.
white lightning
Oh.
thing, you know.
He is just too awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So but he is so sweet.
Really?
He is so kind. This man texted me last year and wished me a happy birthday.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
so walk me through this. The first time you're walking in, this is it's a pretty major TV studio setup they have over there. So you walk in, Michael McDonald's there. What happens first? Like he comes in.
I was a dork.
Really?
Yeah. Fortunately, at the first moment I saw him, I was standing there alone.
Really?
And he was walking from backstage onto the stage.
Uh-huh.
And I just walked up to him and basically told him how I loved him and how fabulous I thought he was. And he's so humble.
Really?
So humble. So now when I see him, hey, Mike, how you doing?
That's amazing.
You lost too much weight. Don't lose any more.
This is crazy. And you were on a couple of those shows then. So then now you're a full-fledged backup singer for Soundstage basically, right? And it's a bunch of people that come through there.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not with everybody because they've got different groupings of people. But yes, I'm on the roster.
And the interesting thing about the jingle thing is that when you have you're doing the jingle world, you guys are all kind of coming up in the industry. So now all of a sudden somebody you did jingles with is like a head honcho at WTTW Studios, and now Jeff Morrow, who we keep mentioning. Empire is a pretty major show,
And we've done Empire.
a lot of
Yes.
Empire having
Yes.
and more to come.
More to come, hopefully.
That's fascinating. I want to get into just a couple more performance things.
Okay.
We're gonna take a quick pause. This is your eye blink, people. Right now, we'll be right back. Bam! That was your eye blink. A second for you, and more time for us. We baked a whole cake in that whole time. We took a 3-hour break. I just heard a buzz. You don't hear anything, do you?
No, I'm
Okay.
good.
I think my cords are a little funny here on my ear. Why? Because I've been chomping and I'm washing dishes in these things sometimes. Sometimes I'll listen to a show literally while doing stuff, and I'll just walk around with the laptop. Like, let me scope. How's this show coming along? Like, oh no, is that bacon grease on my computer? It'll be fine. But anyway, so we're talking to wonderful Yvonne Gage. You guys know that. So I'm interested. So now, as we're getting into the that Michael McDonald thing is amazing. So then Aretha Franklin, like what? Like,
Wow.
Like how much is going on between those two things? Were there other? Give me your adventures.
There are other small things that go on in between.
Yeah.
That where I'm working with Jeff and Joan and Mike Harvey and other people, and we're doing projects.
Yeah.
And then we did some. I'm gonna leave a portion of that out, but we're doing other projects,
All right.
other major projects.
Sure.
And then Mike Harvey, who is a part of a group, we sing so much together that somebody, I don't know whether it was Mike Harvey or whether it was Jeff, suggested that we brand ourselves.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
So we took a promo. There were 6 of us. We took a promo shot, called ourselves the A-Team. The A-Team Chicago consists of Mike Harvey, Paul Mabin, Faith Howard, Joan Colasso, Jeff Morrow, and myself.
Nice. I've worked with 3 of those folks, and those are some amazing vocalists you have in that camp.
So we end up getting a call to do background vocals on a song for Empire.
Okay, the TV show.
A TV show. And in the process of us recording this song, they decided we're putting them in the scene. So we get all geared up. We're going to wardrobe, makeup, hair, all this stuff,
Yeah.
and we shoot the scene, and that began our appearances on Empire. And then after that, Jeff just became a figure. He's over vocals at Empire now. So I got several calls to do Empire, And then in the midst of it, we hear that Aretha Franklin is a huge fan. She sees us on the show.
What?
Yes. She sees us on the show, and the rest is history.
You gotta be kidding me. That's how that happened.
Fred Nelson, who is just a brilliant composer, arranger, pianist, was her MD. And so Fred, through Fred, that was how we were hired.
Wow.
Of course, they didn't need all of us. So it ended up being Jeff, Joan, and myself and Faith. So we toured with her up until the time of her death.
Oh my God, that is amazing.
Yep.
Now she seems like she would have been a stickler, but yeah,
that's stickler. That's not even the right word.
I've heard some tales, but I heard she's a tough boss.
She's nothing to play with.
Yeah.
You better bring your A game when you come to her. And you better stay in your place.
Really?
Yes. It was awesome. But we did Stevie Wonder before her. But with her, you better be on your toes.
Yeah. Did you have any personal interaction with her at all, or is it kind of like you kind of stay right where you are?
It was a lot of one and a little bit of the other. So yes, you better stay in your place. You speak when you are spoken to, basically.
The queen. She was the queen.
Yeah, she was a queen. We had more personal interaction with her on stage during performance.
Interesting.
Than we did outside of that. When she liked something, she would turn around and, let us know,
Oh, wow.
When she didn't like something, she turned around and she give you the look of death.
In the show?
Show. And mainly our issues with things like that would be because she had all these great singers. She had singers from New York. She had a group from New York. She had a first set of singers from Chicago who had been with her for years, which was May Cohen, Diane Madison, and Billie Always. They were with her for forever.
Forever, yeah.
Yes,
okay.
20 years or something like that. And then come us. So she had all these versions of things. A lot of times we didn't know which version of the song she was going to do.
Wow.
So we had one issue like that where we were supposed to be doing one thing, she was expecting something else. But all of it was great.
Yeah.
It was great. She did have a sense of humor. So we did get a chance to laugh with her a little bit, but just a little bit.
It's the queen.
It's the queen. The one personal interaction that we had with us is that she paid each and every one of us. She paid us money in hand.
She
individually.
Physically.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's unheard of.
She called the singers. We stand in a line, and we walk up. She handed us our money.
That is amazing.
Yes.
Would this happen at a rehearsal or at a sound check or something?
This happened after each show.
After each show,
she'd have her cool down time. Then she'd call the singers and musicians in. And
this is so old school.
No.
I've never heard of any, because at that level, you're doing some major rooms. This is a major artist, an icon, and she's still paying like it's a good club gig or a jobbing gig. Like after the gig, you get paid. There's something kind of charming about that, but also this feels unnerving.
But Robbie,
did I do all right? Am I getting my envelope? Like, would there ever be that moment?
Yes. Yes.
This is fascinating.
I at first I was going to say I'm not going to tell this, but people already know this part.
Yeah, people know a lot.
People know, but the other thing is the money bag. Mm-hmm. The money bag was on stage with us the entire time. The money bag.
During the show?
The money bag was on the stage underneath the piano.
It's amazing. Oh, man, I love you so much. Everything has been great, but this is really my favorite story so far. Aretha, she had the grand piano up there usually?
Grand piano,
yeah.
Yes.
And there's a money bag up there.
Yes.
Are you getting paid? Like, no, I shouldn't ask. But
yeah.
But you're getting stuff.
Yes.
This is amazing. So the whole time, is it visible to you?
Yes.
So you're singing and you see the crowd, you see her, hopefully, she's not, sneering, she's smiling at you. And then underneath at her feet somewhere is the bag of money that everyone's getting paid.
Yes, it enters with her and it exits with her.
I'm surprised the money bag didn't get about.
Now, did she physically carry it? No.
Okay.
But it came out on stage with her.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
So let's see. Typically, you know how these things where you guys are on stage and they're probably playing something in before they announce her, and then she would probably, I'm assuming, make a grand entrance.
Yes.
I was never lucky enough to see her live. So.
Oh my God, she was fabulous until the day she died.
Yeah, yeah.
She
Oh wait, don't let me lose this.
Okay.
When does the bag come out? Because you're all out there.
The bag comes out with her escort, with her.
So when she walks out, there's a dude, and the dude has a bag. This is fantastic.
Yes, and he takes her to her place, whether it's at the piano or if it's in front of the microphone, and the bag goes underneath. We sang for her funeral service as well.
Oh, wow.
So the good part was that all of us sang.
Yeah.
The New York singers, the first Chicago singers, and then her Detroit singers as well, and then us.
Man, oh man, that had to be an honor.
It was.
I mean, you feel like you made it quite a few times, all the things that you've done in life. But when you're singing backgrounds for Aretha Franklin, there's just, I don't know, did that feel like a different level of?
It was, because she was a classy lady. She set us up in the finest hotel. She stayed in the same hotel where we stayed.
Wow.
Everybody doesn't do that.
Was there ever any socializing? Was there ever like dinner or anything where?
No, we never did dinner. We never did rehearsal.
This happened later in your career.
Yes, this was just last year.
I love the fact that we just talked about when you were a little girl, you sang Respect, and somehow it goes all full circle. Next thing you know, you're singing Respect with the Queen of Soul. Like
who would have ever thought?
See, that is your work ethic, and that is your life and your career, giving you a big old hug right back for everything that you've put into it, you know, because this is a risk, this is a roll of the dice, you know.
Yeah, and sometimes when I'm feeling down about, well, I meant to do this and I meant to do that and I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I landed here. Then I have to humble myself and go, wow, you are a success story.
You are. Yeah.
You've done this, and there's more to come.
Unbelievable. What was Stevie Wonder like? What was that experience like?
Stevie, of course, that was awesome as well.
Yeah.
Awesome as well. We didn't have, the only interaction that we had with Stevie was before each show, you pray together.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we held hands and we prayed together. And I have photos I can show you. I got to show you later.
Amazing.
But the onstage interaction with Stevie, wow.
Yeah.
Just watching him, standing behind him, listening to him, watching him at work. He also had NDRE on that show.
I saw that show.
Yeah.
Check this out. I saw you guys. I drove to Detroit, and I saw the Detroit show.
Yes, we were there.
Yeah, and you were there.
Yeah, we were there.
And I see Jeff up there too, and we were texting. Jeff and I were texting while you guys were backstage, because you guys would come out, do a few songs, and go back and then come up,
Yes.
And Stevie played this really interesting instrument that I'd never seen before.
Yes, it was a keyboard instrument. It was kind of flat, like
but
a
it was
sitar.
stringed too,
yes,
right? Yeah.
Yes,
Very interesting, and he's jamming on it, and I'm watching this thing, and I'm freaking out, and man, whatever it was, he mastered it.
Yeah.
And then I get a text message from backstage. Jeff Morrow sends me a photo of what the instrument is and what it was called. And I'm like, what? He goes, I just knew you wanted to know what it was.
Really? Oh, wow. Well, he's thoughtful like that.
Yeah, I was cracking up. He's like, I knew it. He goes, he wanted to get it to me before I asked him what it was. In the middle of the show.
In the middle of the show.
Yeah.
So did you cry with us?
Oh,
we cried. We cried during that. I can't remember which song it was. It was the song that he did where he put the had the image up of this woman.
Oh, I'm having a hard time remembering this. Well, wait a minute. What was the song though?
It was a song that we'd never heard of.
Yeah.
But he started crying.
Yeah.
We just all cried, but we cried almost every night with Aretha.
Oh, really?
Almost every night we cried with her.
Any song in particular, or
The very first show that we did with her was in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember which song it was, but she was just coming back from her illness. You know, all this stuff was going on. By that time she was tiny, and she started crying at the end of the song because, you know, the crowd was just all over her. The crowd was just loving on her.
Yeah.
And we cried until we couldn't cry anymore.
Oh, wow. There's something about doing the real deal too. There's something, what we're losing in today's music is that we're losing a lot of emotional content. Mm-hmm. We're losing a lot of that, and it's sad that I'm not seeing that. In fact, I felt like for a couple of years in the jobbing singing in particular, I started losing that. I started going by the numbers, and it just, for some weird reason this year,
yes,
I've gone back into, you know, I'm not thinking about the crowd, I'm not thinking about what I need to be doing, and I'm trying. And even if it's not a song that would be one that truly speaks to me, I mean, Saturday I think I sang Wonderful Tonight by Eric Clapton. Nice song, but it's never been one that like rips my soul out.
Right.
You know? It's melodically simple. For some reason I'm like, oh, this is the one. You know, I'm trying to internalize again.
You have to recondition yourself.
It sure does feel good when I can do it. The other thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to remind myself in those jobbing moments, wait a minute, I'm getting paid to sing. I'm just singing.
Absolutely.
Sing. You know, if I heard this song on the radio, I don't even like it, but maybe I might even hum it anyway, just out of instinct or something. You know, so then I'm going back to bringing that, and it's making me feel like me again in those jobs.
You have to. If you don't, it's going to, whatever you're feeling is going to translate to your audience. And I try not to do that because I am a person who it's very hard for me to hide how I feel. So I don't want to do that. But I think that my biggest problem now with jobbing, and I still do job, is the leader will put together a list, and he will put all these songs together with no regard for the singer, and I'm the only singer. He's got Patti LaBelle next to Katy Perry and, you know, all these people who sing sky high.
Yeah.
And you have to go back to back to back to back to back. Well, by the time I get down, you know, before this over, and like I'm trying to come up with tricks of the trade to make it through the rest of the set.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why that's not a thing, and those are conversations that should be had, you know, so that a band leader would understand that. You know, I'll get it sometimes real time, even like, oh, this one, let's move this one,
right?
You know, and then okay, I'll move it to the second set or whatever. Yeah, I think that's important.
It is,
you know, and that makes the jobbing thing less. It makes it harder to make it real,
right? Because at that point, instead of me thinking about what I'm singing, I'm thinking of making every note that needs to be made.
How do I survive?
Yes, how do I survive? Yeah. No pun intended.
And I haven't even sang I will survive.
Right.
But I like what you're saying, because you're right about one thing. The audience knows when you're genuine. I know so many people that have grown up in this American Idol culture, so for them, they don't really realize where the level is. They don't know how to build. They're just going to try to swing for the fences right away. And I see it in a lot of younger folks, and I don't think they know how to just get lost in a song. Not all of them. You know, I also work with some amazing people.
Many of them,
you know, who I love when they're in the moment. But it's I think everyone's doing an American Idol impression. I think that show ruined a lot of things in the industry. It taught people how not to sing from within.
Yes.
You know, and that's rough.
I saw that with some superstars at Aretha service.
Really?
They come out and they go for these are the youngest.
Yeah.
They go for everything that they have at the top, and it's like, where are you going from there?
Yes.
By the time you get there, it's going to be so over the top that it's not good.
It's weird because they take the journey. There's no journey there, and because they're not taking a journey with the song, it seems like they're not putting any meaning behind it, because they're just coming out swinging. You know, where it's a nice date, you know.
Yeah.
You know, have some dinner, go for a hug, have a kiss, and then get bigger and better as it goes on.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not doing it. Yeah, those layers are huge, and I see it. I'm starting to see that some people are in the industry. I'm starting to notice when they perform, and it's not just singers. You know, I've seen other players.
Yeah.
Just, you know, nobody. How come no one thinks I'm great? Like, what? And I'm always surprised in any bands that I've ever worked with, because I don't really care about fanfare very much.
Neither do I. I'm just as comfortable being in the background.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just like doing it. And
Yep.
again, you know, must be, I think because I was trained by people over 50, their egos were gone already. They were just happy to be singing, and maybe that helped that I, you know,
Yes.
if I'd been trained by some 23-year-olds, maybe there would have been a different me, you know? But I always tell them, like, it's funny because the people that want it so bad, they perform more like a look at me.
Yes.
And if they're good, they're still going to get it. But then some other one will come in.
Yeah, they stand a chance of being brokenhearted.
Yeah, because they care about all the
Yeah,
wrong things.
yeah.
And meanwhile, some other player will come in and do something without caring. And you know, man, we had this one drummer come in one time. He subbed in at a wedding gig, and he just did his thing. And he didn't ask for fanfare. He's not whining because no one's saying hi to him, or how come they just talk about the singer. He just came to play.
Yes.
And at some point, I've never seen this happen at a wedding, because it's not a concert. They all stopped dancing, and they all turned, and they started cheering for this drummer because he just did some cool stuff, you know. And I thought, man, that's how you get it. You keep your head down, you do the job, you mean it, and then it'll come. But don't even want that, because
Yes.
talk about a hole you'll never fill.
Yes.
You know.
I see that. Like I sing with Jim Peterick.
Yeah.
With
Woo.
the Ides March.
And he's still around,
and
right?
he's still around, and he does this world stage show.
Yeah.
And he has all of these rockers from all these legends who from Chicago, Toto, and just all these people who are old dudes that they're humble, and they step out on stage and they kill it. They kill it. And then they go back to
Being humble.
just being humble.
Man, oh man. Let me ask you this. When you first started doing some major things as far as the touring goes, you know, what is some of the craziest stuff that just blew your mind? You know, you don't have to tell me like, oh, no, walked in his hotel room and all that. But I mean, just any kind of experiences that like opened your eyes and we're like, whoa. Whether it was fascinating, whether it was crazy, whether it was wrong, whatever.
Well, nothing really crazy.
Uh-huh.
Nothing out of the norm of anybody else's stuff,
Sure.
other than drugs.
Yeah.
You know, drugs. I saw that, and that's something that I've always steered clear of.
Yeah, me too.
But no crazy behavior, nothing that, you know, nothing that I can say, oh, that just disgusted me, or that was just crazy. It's been good.
Yeah, that's great. And then were there any particular onstage moments, and this is hard because you probably have so many, but when you're working with one of these celebrities where even during sound check or something, or during the show where you're just like, oh, where you have an out of body experience almost?
Well, I kind of always feel that way when I'm doing stuff with Michael McDonald.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like almost listening to him and not paying enough attention to what I'm doing, you know, because from the moment that he opens his mouth, I'm just like studying, listening, soaking in. What can I take away from what he's done, what he's doing, that type of thing. But it's just, it's all been good.
So then you're also teaching too? Mm-hmm. Now what are you training, or what are you teaching?
Vocal jazz performance.
Wow. So then how do you go about that, or is it a one-on-one thing? Is it a class full of people?
It's usually, for the most part, it's class. And so I'm in the classroom with Jeff Morrow.
Uh-huh.
And Jeff teaches vocal technique.
Okay.
You know, and how to master their voicing in a healthy way.
Nice.
How to get the best, how to reach that note that you're almost at but you don't quite have, how to get there. You know, how not to harm your voice. My job is to teach them my tricks, the tricks that have helped me survive in the business. Stage presence.
Stage presence. That's cool.
Very important because the whole premise of this part of the program is to be taught by singers and musicians who are working outside of a classroom environment.
So are you showing a little more of what you do with the package and instead of just like intricate, like how to do a riff or something?
No, how to present yourself on stage, how to choose, how to set up your set list so that they flow.
Fantastic.
Things not to do, ways not to be, things that are instant turn off, things that are going to get you the rah-rah-rahs. They work every time.
Yeah.
These are things that singers nowadays don't know because they're young.
Right. And again, the culture, what they're seeing on television and in other forms of media, they're not getting that lesson. They're not, there's nowhere to really learn that. So it's great that and that's out of Columbia?
At Roosevelt.
Oh man, there's some great singers came out of Roosevelt too.
Yes, and musicians.
Yeah.
I teach them, what do you, because they'll ask me a question like, well, what do you do when you're standing there and you're waiting for the next song? How to fill that in.
Yeah.
What you need to know to do. Songs that, say, for instance, you made your set list and in the midst of it, they're not feeling you. There are songs that are go-to songs that are going to get the audience every time. Yeah. So you need to put those things in your arsenal.
That is fantastic that they're getting that level of training.
And they don't dress the way that we dressed. Mm-hmm. It's fine for them to go on stage with. Yeah. So I teach them that's not. You need to look good. You must present yourself well at all times. That doesn't mean that you have to walk in with a gown on, but you've got to step on stage like I'm the master of this.
I always try to tell people, like, don't walk in like you were just in the crowd. Don't dress like you could just go sit down at the table and blend in with the crowd. Man, these are golden lessons, And it's funny because as you're teaching it, do you sometimes realize like, oh, there's more about this than I realized?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You knew?
Yep.
Yeah, and you're almost like teaching yourself a few new tricks in a way because you're wording it. I find myself wording it in a way where like, oh, I didn't even. Man, okay. Yeah. It's really interesting with that whole thing. Do you enjoy that, like the energy of the youth, or
sometimes yes and sometimes no? Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because sometimes you feel like, oh no, this is going to be a tough one. I have to mold this person.
And it's been that, and it's worked well. But some of them tend to think that they know it all. Yeah. And that they don't need this.
I've noticed the hardest thing with a younger generation is because I think it has something to do with social media. You can log on and you could see exactly the story you want. You could have it worded to your preference. Oh, if you don't like that word, and you click right out of it. And I'm starting to notice that in personal interaction, they don't like if you're not saying something exactly the way they like it, then they're feeling critiqued, or they're feeling threatened, or they're feeling this is a new thing.
You are so spot on.
I have never seen this till this new kind of crop, this younger generation, 20s, early 30s. I'm seeing it like this. I guess it's the millennials they're called. It's really hard to critique them.
It is, because they're critiquing you.
Yeah.
It is. You have to. It's almost like they're your children. My mother used to tell us, you are all different. I deal with each one of you differently, and it's the same thing with them. What works with one, the other one doesn't give a care about. Mm-hmm. So you have to figure out how to do that. That is what I've learned from them, is that I cannot relate to this one the same that I related to that one. Yeah. Some of them are just hard to reach. Some of them don't want to be there. Some of them are not rule followers.
There's that caged tiger thing where I feel like they can get really defensive too, and you're just trying to make a very simple point.
A lot.
Yeah. Like,
yes.
Oh. And I've seen it. It's weird. I taught voice many years ago, and then for a while it was starting to kill my voice, because for some reason I had like 2 male students and like 17 female students that wanted me to teach them how to sing like Mariah Carey. So then by the time I got to my shows, I was dead, But I tend to have some folks it's actually crisscrossed with Jeff a little bit, where some folks will come up, some up and coming singers. I have one or two proteges that I'll try to work with and help. And it's only, since I'm not in the classroom scenario, it's only when they're respectful and they're worthy of the time, because it's my personal time. But I'm starting to see, wow, I could send out the same calm, maybe email or message to 7 people, 8 people, and it's real calm. I could say, this is not a big deal. It's just saying, let's think about this.
Right.
And maybe 7 of them can just say, all right, no problem. But if there's a millennial in there, there's a real good chance, and this has happened to me, that I'm just getting yelled at in a parking lot after a show. Like, how dare you?
Are you serious?
Do you know what you're saying? Like, yeah, it was just, like, this is not a big deal. This is a little, let's watch our reactions to maybe bad things on stage. Let's make sure we don't let it show. No big deal. In fact, if it helps, when I do it, I always try to, when something bad happens, I always think automatically, okay, how do I not let this show? Like, anyway, it's not a big deal. Just house cleaning. Wow. I just want us to think about it. I mean, angry. You said always. Like, always? What are we talking about? When you said you always, that means you're perfect and we're not. I'm like, oh no, this is weird. It was the most interesting experience, and unfortunately, when I meet some people like that, first off, I'm an idiot, and I just keep trying to go in, and I keep trying to help because I think I can. Yeah. But once there's some people that once you realize they can't be reached, then I realize, okay, this isn't worth my time anymore. And the weird thing is, when I've seen quite a few people like that over the last decade, the weird, sad thing is a lot of them are very, very good, so they are still succeeding. Yeah. But what I haven't seen is I'll see them 5 years later, 4 years later, 6 years later, and they haven't grown at all. And I keep thinking, well, you're screwed, because the next young crop, the next young person hits as good as you, that's teachable, they're gonna lap you, But that is, I feel fortunate that I haven't had anything to that extreme. I've had girls mostly, and we end up bonding because we're girls. Okay. And we have days in class where we're doing very little with music. Sometimes we're just girlfriends for the day. Nice. Sometimes we'll watch a movie that's, so I haven't had those issues, but that whole process of what you mentioned is just the process of weeding out those who will and those who won't. Ooh, yeah. You have droplets of knowledge that you just keep, just some wisdom that just keeps happening throughout this whole talk. So where life is good, and you've done so much. Where do you, what's still, you got to still have a bucket list. Oh yeah. You want to record another album? There is time to the time now is to record. Do you like to write your own stuff? Do you like to co-write? Do you like to just deal with some great songwriters that speak to your voice? All of the above. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. How do you prefer to write? Will you sit and play a little something, or are you a melody lyricist? Or are you? I'm more a melody lyricist. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But that's something that's, if you could start working on something next month, that would be your thing. Yes. Okay. Yes. Anything else left on the bucket list? Any place you want to see or anything? I'm wide open. I want consistency. No matter what it is. Yeah. I want to work all the time. I want to do more of my own show, more recording, more of my past projects with people like Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin, Michael McDonald, those people. I like to do more stuff. I like to do more Empire. I'm not even opposed to doing another theatrical stint. Really? I want to do less jobbing. Would you ever do any acting as a straight actor? Would you try your hand at that? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Because you have such a great look, and then you have such a personality to you. You seem like you just get it. There's something about you that seems like you just get it as far as the entertainment industry goes. So it doesn't seem like there's much you can't do. I think I'm a little fearful of just straight acting. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'd be better off trying to do a commercial first to see an on-camera spot to see if I fare well. Oh, man, okay, I'll have to. I do independent film thing, but lately for fun, I'm just trying to do a few shorts that I'm working with a great director who
And you'll call me?
I think I want to just put you in my what the shorts aren't film. I think they might go to film festivals, but I know primarily it's professional productions that these people are doing for 5-7 minute shorts, and it's just going. I think it's going directly to like a YouTube thing, and it's fun because it's just different. I'm doing it for fun. You don't get paid in independent stuff.
You can call me for fun,
but I'm gonna want to write you something, a 5-minute piece. You spend an afternoon being somebody.
I would love to.
That because I would now want to just see your gear in that, because man, you have a lot of different levels and voicings to your own personality just in this conversation.
Thank you.
Which shows that you can sing anything, because you can speak to anything.
Thank you.
You are a dream, man.
Thank you. It's a pleasure meeting you. You're not what I expected at all.
Really?
It's wonderful. I need to know more about you.
Were you expecting maybe a Orville Redenbacher bow tie and a?
No, I was expecting a more reserved,
less relaxed environment.
Even though you told me that.
Yeah.
But this has been so much fun, and I want to hear your music. I want to know what you're doing, and I want you to write that thing for me so I can embarrass the hell out of both of us.
We're gonna make you speak. We're gonna give you. It's time for a speaking role. I think you're due.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. You're a gem of a person. You're one of those shining diamonds in this city of Chicago, man, and beyond. But I mean, the city is lucky that you stayed and that you love this city enough to stay, because we need people like you. You are the exact gem that this city needs to keep shining,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for doing all that you do, because it's been an honor and a privilege to spend time with you. Seriously,
Thank you, Robbie.
And I'm so glad you didn't hate the coffee.
The coffee is awesome.
The coffee's primo.
And the blueberries.
Yeah.
The blueberry muffins.
That had some stuff to
Yes.
it. Well, folks, now you've heard her. If you did not love her within the first 10 minutes, I know you're in love with her now. This is Yvonne Gage. Look her up. Find her. I hope that we can find you doing one of your own little shows,
Me too.
Because I'm going to be looking for that. Everyone, you've heard her. You've now find her. Get to Chicago and just look for her. But thanks for listening. Thanks for putting us in your ears. Have a great week. Have a great month. Have a great year. Go out and find your smile.
Oh, I like that.
You like that?
Yes.
You are a dream. Oh, I loved every second of that.
That was fun. It was fun.
Welcome to my life so far. You'd think by now I'd be a star. I may be long-winded, but hey, there's just so much I have to say. Maybe lick your lips when you're hungry. Maybe drop your head when you're sorry. Maybe shake a bit when you're worried.